So we're here at Inglewood City Hall to meet another associate of mine and get her outlook on the education and what's going on with the teachers associations here in California and how we can find some solutions to rectify that, to make a happy medium between the board members and the Teachers Coalition of California. That's where we're at. Okay, we're back out in the streets. We're here in Inglewood, California with a very good close friend of mine working in the city of Inglewood. And we're out, like I said, touching bases with the American public and the people of California to get their input on certain aspects of the situations that are going on here in California. One being the excessive use of force, and Sarah, working for the city, has firsthand knowledge of that, and get her input on, you know, the hiring of these individuals and what she thinks about it. And most importantly, her being a graduate and having a master's, correct?
Master's and a doctorate.
Master's,
I'm an MD.
yes. Sorry about that, let me get that correct, America. So we're going to the best and the finest in each field and getting their input. First of all, Sarah, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure seeing you again, and you've done so well with yourself. And here now working in the city of Inglewood,
Yeah.
just, you know, what an accomplishment, what a complete accomplishment. So I want to praise you on that. The other thing is, I wanted to come and talk to you about, you know, having your family in law enforcement for so long and having a good understanding about that and working for the city. One of our big pushes for governor is to try to change the hiring age of the officers from 21 to 25. That being said, you know, that was put into place in the late 1940s, the age, and like I've told people before, you know, we're living, the average age is from 67 to 74 now.
Right.
Back in the 40s, it was 47 to 55. So things have changed and maturity levels have changed. And one of the big pushes is that I don't think that young men have enough, not they don't have enough book knowledge, but enough practical life experiences to handle the job, and so we can reduce some of this excessive use of force, because I don't think that these young officers have been lived enough and put in a position enough to understand what truly is a situation where where use of force is needed, deadly force is needed, and what situations are not. What do you think about the age of an officer coming on at 21 years of age?
So, I mean, I think it's a definite positive thing that you're looking at. I think definitely reevaluating and looking at what some of the criteria is for police officers is a good thing. So maybe reevaluating what the onset age should be for the new officers to come in, because as you said, at 21 you are barely legal to start drinking. So you know, it is important for them to have an understanding of the real world out there, and at that age some of them are barely college graduates. They might not have a relationship that they can even, you know, relate to when they're going to a particular call, you know, for domestic violence and stuff. So when they're put in that situation, I think it's harder for them to really judge, because they don't have the background or the knowledge or the experience. So the older they are, of course, it's better. With that being said, so I think it's always a good thing. Why not reevaluate and look at if it's a good thing to have the officers come on at an older age, and or have certain required training and real life experience before they actually initiate
Get to the field, yeah.
into the field.
So what do you think about the restrictions to become a police officer at this point there? I mean, they're basically, you have to come out of your mom's womb, went to school, went straight home and done nothing whatsoever. I mean,
Right.
even a parking violation could cause for a waiver for you not to get hired. My thoughts are that, you know, let's hire some people that have maybe gotten a couple traffic tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Because receiving a traffic ticket and then issuing a traffic ticket, you have a different demeanor about it. If you've never even received a traffic ticket before and went through that, how are you supposed to know how a person's feeling that you're trying to issue a traffic ticket?
Right.
What are your ideas on, you know, having some officers that maybe don't have these super squeaky clean backgrounds, that have a little bit more practical life experience?
Yeah, no, you know, that can go both ways. I think it's really hard to say that everybody should have a clean record, that everybody should be squeaky clean and nothing should show. But at the same time, you know, again, as you pointed out, you don't have the experience. So if you've never received a ticket before, like, you're right, people get very nervous when they get pulled over by police officers. Their automatic reaction is just defensive and just kind of freeze up, and that's why you have a lot of, you know, things that happened. But if you have somebody that knows, and if they're not just pulling somebody over just, you know,
For no reason
for
at
no
all.
reason
Yeah.
at all, I think it makes a little bit of a difference in the whole situation. So, you know, I think it's okay. I think it depends on the background, and I think
Correct.
it does depend on the history. Now, by no means, a parking ticket is okay, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the folks that you're empowering for such authority, especially to wander your streets and to protect your city and the people of the city, you know, you want to make sure that they have the city's best interest at hand. You want to make sure that they have the people's best interest at hand, that you're not empowering somebody that really shouldn't be authorized to
Correct.
hold a weapon or to hold certain,
Right.
you know, authority. Because remember, a lot of times people can take authority and it can lead into a negative effect as well.
Correct. Kind of like, you know, in schooling, sometimes you got to get a D once in a while to drive you to get that
To
A.
get that A,
You know,
absolutely.
you have to understand the
Yeah.
feeling of receiving a D,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point that I'm getting at is, you know, we're not trying to say, hey, hire an ex-felon that has, you know, attempted murder charge or something like
Right.
that, but someone that probably had a speeding ticket, you know, maybe had a fender bender or something like that. Those are
Right.
some things that, you know, I think are assets
Right.
to being able to do this job because they've kind of experienced that.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to have someone oversee something that's never experienced it. It's like asking a guy to go be a sea captain of a boat just because he has the money to buy it doesn't mean he understands how the waves are in the ocean, because just like
Right.
driving a boat
Or
in the
how to
lake and the
steer it.
ocean, two different things, you know.
No,
So,
I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, as you mentioned, I think education is very important. You know, for me, that's a huge area that I always push on. I think whether it's law enforcement or the children or the students, you know, it's continuous education, right?
Mhm.
Because there's always things that are changing. Just making sure that people are empowered with education.
right.
Even now, like, you have a lot of folks that have been in their position in law enforcement, but, you know, making sure that they go back out and that they see times are changing.
Oh, of course.
Things aren't how they used to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you know? So everybody has to deal with that in a certain way, delicately, but also empowering them with the education and the knowledge, knowing things have changed.
It's great that you step on that about education, that, you know, the digital age is so strong now. One of the things that we're foreseeing is that a child, even at the age early as second grade, can actually format and find information about a certain subject even faster than the teacher can give it to them.
Yeah.
So even with our teachers, I mean, I believe that our teachers, because of the digital era, continuing education for them also, because things are changing
Right.
so rapidly on a daily basis. And I believe that, you know, some of the funding that we're giving the teachers, we need to revisit that also, because, you know, teachers are truly underpaid for what they do. And I know that it's not a want in California, it's a need to have education.
Absolutely.
We have the largest population of educators and students in the whole continental US. I mean, it's period, those numbers are here. But systematically, we get federal funding, which is lowest in the nation, which doesn't make any sense at all to me. What are your thoughts on how the teachers are getting paid?
So for the teachers that are using their own personal funds to, you know, buy the equipment and the tools and the supplies needed for the children, you can tell that they're passionate about their job, right? There's very few people, especially nowadays, because there's a lot of stigma, right, with teachers, and there's you know, students don't want to listen, they only have certain authority. So for somebody to still want to teach our younger generation and to want to see them excel, I think that's an amazing, you know, feature and quality to have. And for somebody to do that, put their own, you know, financial needs aside and say, okay, my students need pens or papers or crayons or whatever, etc. I'm going to use my own personal funding. I think that's amazing, and I think that it shows that how passionate they are in wanting to secure those children's futures. Now, as far as California and just our younger generation and just children in general, we have to put the money into the children, because that is our future.
Correct.
The kids, you know, whether they're in elementary, high school, college, that's the future of
Correct.
California. That's the future of the U.S. That's where funding should be going, is to educate them and to empower them and to make them more knowledgeable. So if we're not putting the finances there to where the teachers need it, it's kind of hard to say that we're going to be a strong, amazing country without having the future or the right people to be able to lead it in the future.
So you
if
think
that
you,
makes sense.
So you think you would be with it if a teacher is excelling in their classroom, is excelling, there should be some type of stipend or something for those teachers that are going above and beyond. And I don't mean by turning in receipts. I mean
Right.
by grade scores, ASVAB scores, general scores across the board.
Standardized.
Standardized for sure.
Sure.
So you think, I mean, you agree with me on that, we should probably figure out some way, a format of, you know, rewarding those teachers that are better doing
I mean,
that.
and you know, everybody else does it in other ways, right? Everybody has bonuses and some kind of a structure where it shows
Right.
that you're getting rewarded based on your performance.
Right.
So why not? Why not say that if the teachers are doing their performance based on the students' results, not getting benefited from that?
Well, I'll tell you, Sarah, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, with your accomplishments and
Thank
what you've
you.
done these last 4 years. And I just want to thank you for your input, and California wants to thank you. You heard it from the best. So remember one thing, Mavrick for Governor 2018, to the people, with the people, for the people. You better ask somebody.